Everything in life is in a constant state of change. Everything we perceive and sense, our surroundings, our relationships, our thoughts, and even our very bodies, changes in some way, at some point. This constant shift might initially seem disheartening, but it's far from that. Change is not something to fear. In fact, it is one of the most exciting aspects of life. It brings growth, new possibilities, and a deeper connection to the world around us. The irony of change lies in how much we resist it. Even though it is deeply embedded in the nature of existence, it is essential to life itself, and yet, we often fight it with all our might. We are all afraid of the uncertainty that accompanies change. We fear stepping out of our comfort zones and into the unknown. Even when the present moment is less than ideal, we often find it easier to stay in that state rather than take the risk of what the future may bring. This is because the fear of the unknown feels far greater than the discomfort of what we already know, even if it's not the best situation. The idea of change, and the process it requires, seems more overwhelming than simply enduring what is already happening. But, regardless of how hard we try to resist it, change is inevitable. It will happen whether we want it to or not. Our task is to overcome the fear it generates, to learn how to embrace it, and to recognize the potential that lies within every change. Change brings new opportunities, allows us to evolve, and infuses our lives with excitement and anticipation. Just like any fear, overcoming the fear of change requires us to confront it directly. We must face change, understand it, and accept it in order to move forward. What is particularly interesting about change is that we often only notice it when it is sudden, dramatic, and unforeseen. When change happens gradually, we barely even register it. Over time, we adapt to the subtle shifts and incorporate them into our daily lives, enjoying the sensation of progress without even realizing it. But what we fail to acknowledge is that sometimes change occurs below the surface, unfolding slowly and invisibly. It doesn't always make a big, sudden splash, and yet, that gradual change is just as real and transformative as the more apparent, shocking moments. This is similar to the way we perceive a person growing their hair out. Imagine a friend or coworker who is letting their hair grow from a short length to a much longer one. You see them frequently, perhaps multiple times a week, so the small increments of growth are not noticeable. Every time you see them, the difference seems minuscule. The change is so gradual that you don't react to it. You accept their growing hair without any fuss because it doesn't overwhelm you. But now, consider a different scenario. Think about a relative or old friend you haven't seen in a long time. When you last saw them, their hair was very short, but now, after several months or even years, you see them again, and their hair has become significantly longer. The sudden shift in appearance is striking, and you may feel a sense of surprise or even unease when you first notice it. The change feels sudden, though in reality, it happened gradually over time. Life is like hair, it changes little by little. The shifts may be small day by day, but over time, they accumulate, and we experience a major transformation. The challenge comes when we are confronted with these larger changes all at once, as they feel unfamiliar and unsettling. We resist them because they are jarring. We might even criticize the people or systems undergoing change, labeling them as inauthentic or impractical, when in fact, the only thing that has shifted is our perception. It's important not to jump to conclusions based on the discomfort we feel when change occurs. We must remind ourselves that change is constant and that it is not inherently negative just because it feels sudden to us. Life, in all its complexity, is in a constant state of flux, and by resisting change, we are in fact resisting life itself. Understanding the nature of change and accepting it as a part of life allows us to live more fully. It gives us the freedom to explore new possibilities, embrace challenges, and appreciate the present moment without being overwhelmed by what may or may not come next. Change is a bridge between where we are and where we could be. It holds the key to new experiences, new learning, and even new versions of ourselves. Change is not a force to be feared. Rather, it is an essential part of the human experience. It is what drives us forward, what pushes us to adapt, grow, and discover new aspects of ourselves and the world around us. While change can feel uncomfortable and even frightening, it is through embracing it that we unlock the fullest potential of our lives. Every moment of change is an opportunity to learn, to evolve, and to become more aligned with who we are meant to be. When we stop resisting and start embracing the ebb and flow of life, we begin to experience life in its most vibrant and meaningful form. Change is the essence of life, and by welcoming it, we allow ourselves to fully live.